it was a very tricky game to do because the mechanics of it are quite unlike any other game that I had done, and they're not typical of games in general, in that it's a very thoughtful and sort of slow-paced game. Even the combat is turn-based strategy. It's like, you know, and it's not like XCOM turn-based strategy, it's like chess, where it's, you spend a lot of time scratching your chin and saying, I wonder what the best move is. And like big drums of war and fanfare trumpets don't exactly accompany this action, I found. And so it was tricky. I mean, it took, you know, I worked on it almost 2 years, and I wrote a lot of stuff that I threw out. So it, you know, it's hard for me to kind of summarize that experience, but it was really, really positive. It was, I had no creative oversight whatsoever. The developers, called Stoic Studio, basically just said, Austin, do what you think is right, and we trust you. And every time I would play them something and say, well, what do you think of this? You know, really wanting their feedback, they'd say, well, how do you feel about it? I'd say, well, I think it probably works. They'd say, okay, well, that's why we hired you, to tell us your opinion, so go for it. So it was, I mean, even Journey, where I had like a ton of creative freedom, wasn't quite like that. I still had that game company and Sony very actively involved.
I just wanted to know about your Grammy nomination for Journey and just what you thought going through that process, because it was the only full soundtrack ever nominated?
Yeah, it was a surreal experience, and it has not become less surreal, even though I mean, the Grammys were February 11th of last year, so it was almost precisely 1 year ago today. It was wild. I mean, one of my lifelong heroes is John Williams, and he was nominated in the same category. And like we were, you know, in other words, we were going against each other for an award, which is not something I ever expected would happen in my life with him. Even if my career went really well, he's 50 years older than I am. I just thought, you know, there's a lot of time to make up for. So I didn't really think it would ever be possible, both creatively, logistically, so that was very special. But to me, by far the most significant part of it, because I got a lot of press that would say things like, you've validated video games for the mainstream. And I was like, no, I haven't. Video games have been eligible for the Grammys since 1999, and I actually think it's wrong that Journey was the first one in all that time. Over a decade going by before a game score was nominated, when so many, like BioShock and so many things had come before it that have really made an impact on the culture. So my hope, my greatest ambition was that if it shone a spotlight on game music at all in any way, it would make people who didn't know anything about it want to go back and say, what maybe inspired this? What came before? Because there's a lineage that goes all the way back into the 70s of great music. And if I could do my part to help people know it, then that would be good with me.